So tell us about your background and your journey leading up to you starting and running your company ShopShops.
Thank you for having me, Carly-Ann. It's a pleasure. Um, Shop started about 4 years ago, and I myself graduated from Parsons long time ago. I have a accounting and finance background, and then went into Parsons after a few years working in China. Mostly media background. So when I selected Parsons for merchandising, it was really going after the passion of that I have for fashion. I've always loved fashion. And so basically starting from there, when I graduated from the program, I worked in New York for about 3 years and then went back to China again, opened my multi-brand boutique store, mostly carrying US contemporary brands, designer brands. And then went on designing my own label for about 6 years. That was all before I went into ShopShops. Initially, ShopShops was an idea that go on as more of a discovery map function for Chinese travelers. That was the very, very beginning of it. When I had my own offline retail stores, I often feel like there's not enough foot traffic, enough way to get people know about the existence of my store. And I think that was what driven to where I wanted to bring cross-border fashion to more people around the world, and starting with China first, obviously. And quickly we evolved from that idea of just offline discovery map function into more of an online discovery. And now we call it the live stream virtual shopping or the virtual social shopping. There's a lot of new terms coming out every day to describe what it is. But basically, that's where we started about 4 years ago in 2016 summer, where we started live streaming from US retail stores.
So let's go back a little bit because you have such an amazing path. You're a serial entrepreneur. You've started a design brand. You've opened up retail stores in China. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that you learned from those experiences that came together to help to build the foundation of your current company, ShopShops. Can you break things down a bit and tell us a bit more about the particular problem that you were trying to solve for customers with ShopShops?
I think every fashion lovers or people who are in fashion, I think there's an urge inside of us is invisible, where we do want to share to other people of what we believe the fashion is. We want to let more people know about it and share. So I think initially ShopShops was mainly focused on getting discovery. Like still today, it's more about discovery of what's out there, what's new. We divided it by geographic location. So basically, I wanted to build something that we can virtually shop as though we are physically in that space. So coming from an offline retail experience, I value the retail offline experience very much. The sound, the music, the display, the color background. I think all those specifically curated and selected by the store owners, designers themselves, or even the store managers themselves, place the importance of that overall shopping experience. And that's why I think people keep going back to stores or keep wanting to go back to stores that they love. And it's very different from online shopping. It's completely different from e-commerce, where you're clicking through pages of different images, which are curated, but there's not that connection or the interaction that really brings the differences of the real offline shopping. So I guess that's what I wanted to create. I wanted to bring the sound, the smell, the interactions all into a different way of online shopping. I think live stream and video plays a very good connector, or it's actually just a a way to connect with people differently than just using an image or a video that's created and edited. Live is interactive, it's very authentic. A lot of the time, a lot of shit happens in real time, and that really replaces, or basically it's the same that as we see inside the store. You would be virtually talking to someone else in the live stream trying to shop with you, where you would be fighting over the same pair of shoes that's on sale virtually. Or you would be asking the question on a pair of sunglasses that someone wants to know the answer to. So I think that's where I find it exciting to build something completely from scratch that sort of describe what I'm trying to describe here, is that mimicking the offline shopping experience online.
So now ShopShops has a US version. In the beginning, you started out with this solution that was meant to give Chinese customers a window into, discovering new American brands. You took this problem that people were solving in a manual way through actual shoppers or people who were buying on their behalf, and you figured out how to automate that.
Yes, we did find a way to automate that. I mean, we're still doing it through shoppers or through hosts, as we call them. They're curators that goes into different retail stores, and they will select a product and present them to their viewers or followers across the border. So right now, we are still very focused on the China, US, or bringing a cross-border experience to Chinese customers. That's where we started. And as launching the US side, we want to create the same experience, bringing other places back to the US, like the Japanese shopping environment, even the Chinese shopping experiences to the cross-border market. Or go out searching for money and people who believe in your ideas.
And we'll get to that piece. We'll get to that piece later on with getting other people to invest their money to helping you scale your idea.
Yes.
So let's talk about how you went about actually pitching ShopShops to potential partners. So social shopping or social commerce is something that is prevalent in China and has been now for some years. For a lot of Chinese consumers, this is, native to them. But in the US, it's something that is now being adopted a bit more. But at the time that you started ShopShops, it was not. So how did you actually convince potential stores or partners that this solution was going to be beneficial to them?
In the beginning, it was very new to almost all the retailers that we pitched. First of all, what is live stream shopping? Second, how much setup? Is it disturbing to the rest of the customers? And how does it work? Why would it work? Like questions, there was tons of questions. But I also have to say, starting from the beginning, being scrappy, I basically gone through almost all the retail stores in New York, Manhattan. I can still literally, if today they're still open, I can draw you the map on which store is actually located where and who's the neighbor. Because I walk through with my partner with most of all the stores, trying to pitch each individual stores on, hi, we are trying to build something, please work with us. We don't take commissions. We're looking for just a way to feature your product to our viewers. There's people who are innovative enough to accept ideas. So we started working with Art, the Webster, and then eventually Rag and Bone. And there's a whole bunch of brands started to willing to test with us to just get in the sense of what's new in the market, or what are some of the new things that are people trying in the market. So I would say that still back to being scrappy, go do it yourself, and then also leveraging as much resources you have. Or at the time, we were part of an incubator called XRC Lab that is part of supported by Parsons. So with that, we were able to get a lot of direct intros to brands probably wouldn't be interested in working with such small startup.
So, in mentioning the accelerator, XRC, let's talk about how to actually convince people to invest in your startup idea. So, when you started your journey, did you save a substantial amount of money to get yourself started? And tell us a bit more about what the experience was like going about raising the series of rounds that you have raised to date.
Initial investment came from myself. Like I said, I used to have my own brand that operated in China for about 6 years. So when I decided to go into ShopShops, it's a choice between doing something completely new, which is called ShopShops, or reinventing the brand that I created for 6 years. I spent about 6 months before really finally deciding to go on to the new journey of ShopShops. And so I closed down the entire business of the brand, packed up things that I have, sold whatever that was able to sell. And that sort of give me, and then with the saving of the years that coming from that business is where I started on ShopShops. And then also we went into, I think when I first started, there's two things. I know at the time, the money that I have is not enough to support the idea that I wanted to create. So I know I have to go out, raise money. I just needed to figure out when and from when and how. We know that the time, like I kept saying, we as my partner and I keep discussing, when do we do it? Initially was more of a piece of paper, an idea on a piece of paper. We call it deck. And looking back 4 years now at my original deck, I laugh at myself all the time. Like, like don't believe anyone who tells you, oh, that's the deck they got to which dollar amount. It's never true. Okay, the initial deck, it's really bad if looking back now. But it's the idea that's on there. I guess you have to keep pitching to different people, knocking on different doors to get to someone understands and willing to talk to you. Obviously, you have to make sure your idea isn't a real idea, and or something that it's really missing in the market. So I think at the time, we really strongly believe that there's a need in that market. So there's data to support it. And that's when we started pitching to, I guess, XRC.
Mm-hmm. And that it's also a big market.
Sorry?
And that it's also a big market.
It is also a big market. And that's where we started pitching to XRC for the incubator. And I think probably out of all the people who pitched to that program, I might be the lucky one because I'm probably out of that cohort, the only one had Parsons background, like someone who actually graduated from Parsons was interested or was in part of that program. So we do have invisible benefit being Parsons grad in that sense. So I think that's where pitching to the right platform and also looking for the right people to accept your idea or to personally know you, how passionate you are about your idea, I think is very important.
So now tell us, how did you prepare to transition from the Accelerator, which was your first round of funding, to raising your seed round and the other rounds that you've raised beyond that? What were investors looking for? Why did they decide to bet on you as an entrepreneur?
Every time I go out to raise, to make sure I have the right story, the right data to support the story or the idea itself. And then also still finding the right people to listen to your story. I think from the experience with XRC and then the learning of it is really to focus on what you're trying to say to the point. So when we first raised our seed round with Forerunner, we've been running for like a year and a half on Taobao stores, completely on a third party, trying to get our numbers, our stories, our idea more formalized into the deck that we can actually present. Because you do need to have the real numbers to show, because the people who are investing in you, venture capital especially, in the end, they are looking at results. It's not just about the story. It's about the results and how you can make that idea or that goal come true. So I think I am very fortunate that I was able to directly to pitch to a lot of angel investors and also the seed round investors all together at once, where I was ready to go out there and race for our seed round. So I think positioning it, the right timing to tell the right story is very important. And then when we raised our Series A last year, it was the same strategy in terms of what number you have. Are these number able to support your idea of the next step growing better? So yes, the pitch deck will change from more of an idea to more of a number-driven, targeted proposal.
And how much did you raise in each round?
Our Series A was 14 million from co-leading of USV and Turning Group.
And how much was your seed round?
At total, we raised about 20 million.
Okay.
From seed plus Series A, everything.
So piggybacking off of the investment piece, let's talk about the resources that investment goes into supporting. So the team is one major component that you have to put a lot of consideration into when you're trying to build a successful company. Can you tell us how you went about building your founding team?
Founding team members is people who believe in your idea more than their skill, more than their knowledge or anything else. I would say in the beginning, our founding team is only a team of 5. And me and my partner, Kana, who we're based in New York, and we both travel back and forth so much that we don't really remember what time zone we were on. But our back end team was just a very one tech person who also acts as the sales and also act as the customer service. And then also we had our accounting person who accessed everything at the time. So basically, when you look into your founding team, it's really people who believe you and you trust to start. And obviously, the co-founders are experienced in the field. Like I come from more of a retail, fashion, merchandising, accounting, finance background.
Yeah, you have everything.
My partner, she comes from a more of a TV, fashion, producing background. So she's coming from completely like a bizarre China, TV China, traveling TV, a journalist background. So for two of us combining, then this is what you see as TV, QVC, live stream show of shopping in the very beginning. So I think that the beginning team is still about passion. It's always about people who joins you has a passion of what you're doing. As we go up to build bigger team, it's always a challenge. It is still my challenge till today, trying to find the right people, the right mind, the right talent to fit into the culture we're trying to create here. So I think for ShopShops, the most important thing that I look at is experience of that person and authenticity, and how and entrepreneurial, how hands-on, how different hats that person has wear, more than sort of the big Google name or Amazon name. Like, it's, to me, the title is important, but not as important as how many hats, how many position or experience this individual have had.
And there's a good point or connection that can be drawn from what you said initially about the co-founders. Like, the concept that you built, you and Kana, you fill the skill sets, or you have the experience to prove that you can actually execute it. And that's something that's important as well when you go out to raise money.
Yeah.
When investors look at your team, they want to believe that this team can actually execute on this idea or this story that you're trying to tell.
Yes. I mean, there's never going to have, I mean, not many people, when you start with an idea or such a small, you are able to build a complete team. Like, not many real startups, like, let's just say real startups, that are able to go out and said, hey, I have a team of 10 people and they're each super great and amazing. I mean, if you are coming from Google, building a special segment of something inside Google, then you can say, hey, I have a team of amazing 10 people out of a pool of 100,000 people or 10,000 people. But with a lot of real startup, when you start doing it, you only have a handful of friends. You only have that many people that you are connected to and willing to jump in the water with you. So I think those initial ones are really focusing on how much they believe in the idea. At the time, that idea might even be a little bit blurry, like, they are still willing to try it. Second is, what you are missing can be accommodated by the few that are willing to jump into the water with you. I guess that's what I was looking at. It's like, Kana and I had different, there's so many fights, there's so many disagreements, but also the same times, a lot of exciting stuff happened from that disagreement. And then I think even till today, we still fight on different ideas, how to do this, how to do that, or I'm too controlative or not too not control enough. So I mean, that's where you go on a journey with your partners or with your team. And we highly encourage disagreements. We fight all the time. And the loudest probably always win. So remember to be loud when you need to, which means just speak out your minds. And I highly encourage my team to keep doing it. Yeah, it's you can never have something completely ready before you're ready to do it. So a lot of people would say, hey, let's wait till I have this or I have that, then I will try it. Just that never happens. Like, when you go out, even when I go out to race, that does not happen. You don't have everything. You can only tell your story, more pivot towards what benefits you the most, and try to avoid what's not working for you the most. But you can't say, okay, we're all ready and let's do it. And that's probably when the time has passed.
So tell us a bit more about how you met your co-founder. This is a question that a lot of entrepreneurs typically ask. How do I go about finding a co-founder or finding initial team members? It's not an easy thing to do. So tell us how you met Kana and how you decided that she would be a great partner for you to work with.
I think everybody would have a different way of finding their partner or the right partner. Okay, how do you find the one that you want to marry? By searching or keep looking. um, or the right timing. I think that combines all together. I met Kana many years ago. Not very close, but we used to have our path cross years ago. Because I was in fashion, she was in fashion. We're the same age range. So the decision that we came to do this together, her previous company was trying to pitch me into a job into their startup company. And so we got to know each other more. But at the time, I already know I wanted to do ShopShops. So basically, I didn't join that company. So when she was ready to leave that company, and we met again, and basically, I pitched my idea to her again, and then had her on board. So I think it's very hard to say who's the right person, the wrong person, unless you try it out and then be brave enough to trust people that's part of your team that are considered new. I think that's something I keep telling myself even till today. During COVID, I had to hire our head of product, our head of operation for the China team. And both of them, I still haven't met in person at all. And that those two people are changing the ShopShops product literally and running the entire China-based operation literally. And those are the two people that I've ever met in person in my life. So that sort of is another way of dealing with trust. You have to sort of learn how to trust people quickly and believe that they are putting into enough ideas, bringing in their assets, their value, and their trust in you at the same time as you are putting into them. So I think that's something. It's part of the journey that I'm still learning.
On a similar topic, do you have a board of advisors or a group of mentors who you turn to for advice or for help with resources? And if you do, how did you go about curating or building that group of supporters?
Yeah, I have several advisors along the way. When we first began, it was more on finding more stores or brands that are willing to work with us. So my first advisor was someone that I used to work with as my previous boss, who is herself designer, contemporary designer, in US. So she was providing a lot of connections, people get to know. She also suggested several of my first US hires from part of her network. Because the reference there is super important when you're first tapping into something completely new, and your previous boss, who still loves you, put it in a very good position when you start being referred by her or him to other people in the industry. So what I'm going to say is always remember, keep a good relationship with your boss. Even the idea of XRC Lab was basically suggested by her from her knowledge of what's going on in the industry. And then second, I think it's always always pitch to different people. Like when I was doing or working on ShopShops in the very beginning, I think a lot of my friends thinks I'm crazy. Everything coming out from my mouth was about ShopShops. There's nothing else. I'm literally pitching to any new person, new people that I'm meeting, with the idea with what I'm doing, with how I think about the future is I was the crazy woman. No one wants to be friends with me because I only talk about one thing. And that also led to the opportunity to meet when you're meeting new people. Somehow, someone liked your idea and believed in your idea that are willing to provide some assistance, some intro, some connections. So, those are also another way to find not really mentors, but getting yourself out there. And then for the mentor part, uh, once you start to have more established product, then you will start seeing people inbounding that are willing to help you, to put into more of their time and resource. I think that's also a good sign when you start seeing people who are more connected or higher up or had similar experiences to willingly to spend time to talk to you and to join the ride. Basically, it's a good sign that telling you people start to understand, and also you're getting yourself noticed. So, and then among those people, then I started selecting that I feel most comfortable talking with, most authentic, honest. I think once you start learning what you need, then you will be able to know who is what you really need. In a way, it's not just noise of people coming to you. Hi, this like you're amazing. That will come, but for when you talk to individuals that you feel like that's the really need and fits into what you're looking for, it will come naturally as you learn yourself better.
And how do you maintain and manage those relationships?
I try to keep up with a lot of these connections or people that I've met along the way. Try to check in with them, and then also try to obviously update what we are doing, anything new. It is just like maintaining any other friendship, but with more of a goal of having them help you on certain things because their time are valuable. A lot of the time, the mentor or the advisor do have other plates that they have to deal with. So just try to be very focused on the one that you select you want to work closely. So currently, I am working with Justin Steffel. He's the ex founder and CEO of Refinery 29.
Oh,
And
wow.
so he and I talk almost on a weekly basis, sometimes about the product, sometimes about the idea, sometimes about uh, finding the right people or having him help me to interview some of the candidates. Like it ranges, but um, that's sort of a very close advisory where he is really helping me to structure how the thinking of it or the different view of it. So you do need to find people that you can trust and rely on their expertise and experience to help you make decisions.
So let's circle back a bit to the beginning. You talked about having a finance and accounting background. You seem to have a really great grasp on both the business and creative side of things. So, for a lot of our audience, they are creatives who are coming to our platform to learn how to build a sustainable business around their art. How would you um, say that having those crucial accounting and finance skills early on, how was that beneficial to you, and how did you go about blending those two together?
I think accounting and finance or any of this business background is very, very important in any aspect of work. So for me, I was forced into accounting and finance. This is sort of like every Chinese family story. When we go into university, only two choices you can select: either accounting, finance, or you have to be a doctor. And definitely, I'm not doctor type, so I could only choose finance and accounting. But I mean, with that said, I think it really helps to understand the basic structure of business, how to run it, how to build it. Finance or accounting is the route to build your own business. Like, it's, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to know about what a balance sheet is, what an income statement is, how to keep your cash flow there and be able to not bleed out, or what is the budget, what is, like, a lot of it is really directly just related because you want to run a business. And that can be a restaurant or a creative brand. So I think that's sort of, it's a basic foundation that anyone who wants to do a business themselves have to have or have to learn quickly. It doesn't have to be a degree, but you have to learn that very, very quickly and very good with numbers. And if you're not, then look for a partner who's very, very good with numbers. So that will play the upside. And if you want to build a website or e-commerce, you have to have someone that really understands tech. Otherwise, you're screwed. So it sort of depends on what you really want to build, right? And then for me, it's, I guess, being creative as a designer. I never really learned design part of it, even though I did design my own, created my own label. In the end, I ended up hiring designers who run the design part, and the creative, I joined in to about 30%, 40% of the initial designs at the time. But the most of the, like, the constructions of the product itself is eventually created by people who are specialized in design. So touching on both sides of that creativeness and then so the business sense, I think everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur has to have both sides. And some people would say, I'm only creative, but I have no idea about numbers. I think it's not just about numbers, it's about your business sense. And you can be bad at numbers or specific accounting, but you have a sense of how to build and structure that business overall. And you can say, okay, I am not creative enough, I only have a business sense. Anyone who wants to build something new as a business is creative, because we have to find ways that are completely different from anything out there, to make it come true. And I think that's creative. So don't doubt yourself, or I'm creative or I'm business. It has to be both. And you have to figure out which side you have the most strength, and then use that side, and then find the other partners who has the other side. Try to have it accommodate you.
So as an entrepreneur, what is the most exciting part for you about running a business?
It's the roller coaster that happens daily. It's the nonstop problems and the nonstop accomplishment that you sort of get to deal with on a daily basis. So it's always the up and down. I think it's the fun part is there's so many unknowns, especially this year, that are out there that we have to, or I have to learn to deal with. I think we all have to learn to deal with. That still excites me. It's doing something I'm super passionate about ShopShops. I'm super passionate about live shopping video components of how I see it. This is the future of how people will shop. And then I'm super excited being involved or with these evolution of shopping behavior change. I don't think I'm the one who's leading it, but I think I'm super amazed by how I can be involved in this process and see the changes. I think that passion is super important. You have to really love it in order to face all the shit that's coming at you, like all the up and downs. Believe me, there's a lot of downs when the world is so uncertain. But then one of those few ups is the one that really keep waking up every morning, be excited by it. So love what you do is still what I tell myself and tell my team. Like, you have to be passionate about what you're doing right now, or we're trying to create right now. And don't give up easily, because there's always downs. And when we're facing downs, having people around you to try to solve the problem together. So that's what we're doing daily. And so if you say, what excites me? That's the roller coaster ride on a daily basis. Most people don't get to do that. And I do. So I do enjoy it.
And speaking of challenges, obviously everyone is facing challenges right now due to the pandemic that we're in. How did you go about navigating this moment as an entrepreneur?
It's been very hard. Honestly, it's been very, very difficult as because we're in a cross-border business and we're between US and China. Majority of our business is just between US and China. So we're not only dealing with the pandemic, we're also dealing with political issues. And we're also dealing with some discrimination issues. So at the same time, there's a lot of different moving parts. So for pandemic, we started dealing with it on the China side in January. So most people were still not aware of the rest of the world are still not aware of it. Our entire Chinese company is shut down. Everybody had to bring their computer home to work remotely. So our team on the China side started working remotely at end of January. And they continued for about 4 months. And then in between, the US team started working remotely. So you start having like an entire team working remotely, trying to run a 24/7 program that's live at 10 different or 11 different cities right now. When we got shut down, we were running actually about 15 different cities. So there were cities that never came back up until today, because it was just not economically, it's just not worth it. But so basically, we had to deal with shipping product while all the airlines are shut down. So figuring out how you still get the product to the end user through all these different pandemic problems. And then I think right now we are looking to launch our English and product to the English users. So that's also a challenge where we want to have the same number of team built to different product, or changing a different product to better accommodate the English speaking market in a very short time. So right now, go download it in the App Store called ShopShops, Android or iOS. And we are working with our retail partners, a lot of them, such as Rebecca Minkoff, Ott. So there's a group of retailers that we're working with to start featuring live in the next few weeks coming up. So we'll have different programs on ShopShops that runs, and eventually by end of October, we should be able to feature Tokyo shopping experience and Beijing shopping experience. So reversely, trying to bring the world shopping into the English version.
And that's great that you're still moving and scaling this business and tapping into new opportunities at this time.
Yes, we try to stay alive. And we try to stay live. So the only goal is we still have to have a live program running product being introduced, curated, and then also sold to the other side of the market, and reversely the same too. So I'm super excited. I think this is the future of how people will shop. Pandemic is a way that if we look at it positively, I mean, it's very hard to look at it positively, but we have to look at it positively. It is the opportunity for a lot of new startups or a lot of new creative people to find solutions to survive and also create something new that will lead to the future. Because I think after this pandemic, we will never go back to the norm as we used to know. It will be a new way of interaction, engaging, shopping, social. It will be different. And I think we all learn to adopt.
And you've collaborated with a lot of amazing brands like Theory, Anna Sui, just to name a few. How do you go about forging partnerships? How do you decide who an ideal partner is for ShopShops?
Oh my God. Yes. If you ask me pre-COVID, I could give you that list like fairly quickly. Right now, I don't know. There's so much uncertainty out there that I don't really know. There's one dream. I would say that if I can have one ask, I would like to have Victoria Beckham as the spokesperson for ShopShops. That would be a dream come true. It's not just a brand. It's a person that I envy, or I think that I look up to, that matches who ShopShops persona is. Someone creative, someone worked very, very hard and entrepreneurial, but have kids, have husband, have a life that are not just about being one thing. So I think for any female can reach that level of success, that you can have all things that you want, which is a family, a love, your kids, and then your career, and a passionate career. So I think that's something I would say, if a partner or potentially someone that I would love to work with would be her.
And before we wrap up, what are the top 3 points of advice that you would give to a creative who has either just started their business or they are thinking about launching a business? What are the top 3 things that you would have them keep in mind as they embark on this journey?
Dream big, but very hands on. I think would be number one. Always dream as big as you can, but always being as particularly hands on and do it yourself as possible. And then second, uh, make sure you're passionate about what you want to do. And don't doubt yourself if you're really passionate about it. Never give up. Because once you're passionate, then you won't give up that easily. And if you're not passionate enough about it, you will keep asking yourself, am I doing it right? Should I keep on doing it? And then the last thing, number 3, I would say team. Find the right people. It's very hard. I till today still have this biggest struggle is to find the right people. But I would say building team, constantly build team, is the third.
Thank you so much, Liyia, for joining us and sharing all of those amazing gems that you've learned along the way on your journey as a serial entrepreneur and founder of CEO of ShopShops. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carly Ann.